हाय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आपने हमारा पिछला वीडियो LR पे जो हमने बनाया था LR1 वो देखा होगा. वी हैव मेड दिस एक्सक्लूसिव प्लेलिस्ट फॉर यू इन विच वी हैव द 70 days रोड मैप. इट इज़ relevant for both CLAT and AILET exams. यहाँ पर we are starting with a series of recorded lectures in which we had made the first video, logical reasoning 1. यहाँ पे we spoke about premises, assumptions and conclusion. So going forward, firstly we will recap of course and then go on to the next topic of today's video, of today's lecture. So firstly you saw that arguments are the fundamental units of logic. So आपने arguments देखा था पिछले वीडियो में. I am just having a recap so that आपकी memory फिर से fresh हो जाए. So यहाँ पर logic था. And you saw that they have two constituents, all argument. An argument can contains two constituents which can be the supporting premise and a conclusion. So ये चीज़ आपने देखी थी. And there is also an implicit hidden constituent called assumption. So ये चीज़ आपने देखी. And when you have to identify और यहाँ पे लॉजिक का क्या रोल आता है कि इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड द लॉजिक बिहाइंड द पैसेज और स्टेटमेंट्स विच आर गिवन so that you know why this conclusion has been drawn. So this logic is linked here, arguments, logic. So this entire chain, entire process मैंने आपको पिछली बार भी समझाया था. And आपको methods यूज़ करने होते हैं अगर आपको कंक्लूजन को आइडेंटिफाई करना है. सो एक में आप पूछते हैं व्हाट इज़ द ऑथर ट्राइंग टू प्रूव. सो यू आस्क अ क्वेश्चन और यू लुक फॉर सिग्नल वर्ड्स जो कि मैंने आपको पिछले वीडियो में बताए थे. दे कुड बी देयर फॉर, दस consequently as a result it follows that, it can be inferred that, and so on. So there are going to be some more, I would like to call them as TATs. So what is this acronym? These are some tips and tricks. क्योंकि इसके बिना आपका जो competitive edge है वो आपको नहीं मिल सकता unless you know them, because the knowledge level is almost the same for all the aspirants, because आप सब ने पढ़ाई की होती है महीनों महीनों से. you have read lot of textbooks, lot of concepts, lot of notes. So that remaining the same. आपका skill decide करेगा. If you know some tricks to solve a question, you will save on time, you will not commit errors. So this is very important. I just made this acronym up, but still the idea is to learn the tricks. So first tip I will tell you that first of all understand that the examiner is also a human like you, and humans think alike. So the examiner and student thinks alike. I just gave you an example of a syllogism. Examiners are humans. Humans think alike. Just for the argument's sake, agree to it. Students are humans too, or you are not. You must be humans. So therefore P1, P2, P3. तो हम कंक्लूजन एक निकालते हैं. C1 क्या निकालेंगे? So I am sure you would be knowing the answer. Will you agree to this or not? That's debatable, but still. So I just try to, what I'm trying to arrive at through the process of logical reasoning which we learned in the last class, P1, P2, P3, premises and conclusions. यहाँ पे assumption मैंने किया है. Of course humans think alike is a stated assumption probably, yeah, so we can also call it an assumption because आप ये बोल सकते हैं कि नहीं सारे humans एक जैसे नहीं सोचते. So यहाँ पे ये हमने assumption लिया है. And finally we have homed on to this conclusion. So अगर आप लोग एक ही जैसे सोचते हैं तो आपके लिए easy होना चाहिए to read the mind of the examiner. And what he's doing is he's giving you a question, he's giving you 4 choices, and he has to make sure that one is correct and the others are wrong, and the wrong ones are not close to the correct one. So this makes your task easier, isn't it? Now आपको जब questions के ऊपर जाना है तो आपको समझना चाहिए कि the tactics which the examiner is using, he's using evasive language, he's talking obliquely. Evasive language, वो directly आपसे कोई चीज़ नहीं पूछ रहा है. So, and what he's doing is he is highlighting unimportant information and he is downplaying. What is he doing? He is downplaying vital information, presenting it in a garb of some statement so that you are not able to home down to what is asked. So you need to be a detective, you need to bring out your magnifying glass, your mental magnifying glass, and attempt these. Now we've had to talk about assumptions, which we finally will come on to, but however before that we need to understand that where we go wrong. अगर हमें assumptions को पता करना है तो हमको पता है about assumptions, we know one thing for sure, that these are those statements which are taken for granted. Taken for granted, or they are just presupposed. So anything which is when you get a passage, you will read each statement carefully, and whenever you find anything which is presupposed or taken for granted, you are going to notice that. So this is your approach basically. Now where we go wrong, I will come to that, and to assist you in all this, you need to learn to identify keywords. This is very, very important. Now these keywords could be all, always. ये assumptions को identify करने के लिए मैं बता रहा हूँ. At least पिछले वीडियो में you had seen conclusion को identify करने वाले words, यहाँ assumptions के लिए all, always, at least, at most. पिछले आप देखिए ये चीज़ जो मैं आपको यहाँ पे बता रहा हूँ, यहाँ पे मैं all लिख सकता था, all humans think alike, right? वो जो कि मैंने यहाँ लिखा नहीं है. So it could be an assumption. So आप देख सकते हैं कि all word use होता है. So all, always, at least, at most, cannot be, each and every student, जैसे हम कुछ बोल सकते हैं, every student studying in so and so college is intelligent, we are assuming, directly, exactly. There are a number of such words, but since these are keywords, we need to go and go to each one of them and see them. Must be, no fewer than, and no more than. The list still is not complete. Only once, perfectly, certain, sure, probably. So there are 3 words: certain, sure, probably. Of course probably assume करने के टाइम पे हम probably बोल सकते हैं, and unless, in spite of. ये सारी चीज़ें we will provide to you in our notes. You can approach us through our WhatsApp number or email. और यहाँ पे ये सब देखने के बाद we need to understand that please do not make unwarranted assumptions, which is, you can easily fall prey to it. You can actually home on to the assumptions which are not required. How? I will show you. So let's go and see some examples, see two lines, and then we will relate those lines to some cases. So let me type it out for you by my voice command, and we will see whether it takes every word correctly and types every word correctly. If inflation is controlled, fiscal deficit will be controlled. Okay, so wonderful. It has done its job quite nicely. So I don't have to make any corrections over here. तो अगर हम first part of the sentence को P नाम दे दें, fiscal deficit will be controlled को हम Q नाम दे दें. So we will see certain conditions. Now if P then Q, this is our main statement. If P happens, then Q happens. If P, then Q. Now there will be scenarios. What is the first scenario? Not P. जब मैं बोल रहा हूँ not P मतलब P does not happen. That means inflation is not controlled. Therefore, not Q. Information not controlled, fiscal deficit will not be controlled. Sorry, this is, yeah, okay, fine. This is, I was at number 2, I put it at number 1. Anyway, so not P, therefore not Q. The second one, P, therefore Q. Inflation is controlled, fiscal deficit will be controlled. Then let's go to 3. Q, therefore P. And the fourth one, not Q, therefore not P. Now scratch your brains and tell me, if we are given this statement, if inflation is controlled, fiscal deficit will be controlled, and if P then Q का हमें premise दे दिया गया है, so what all will be the correct inferences? So going on to them one by one, the first one says, if inflation is not controlled, fiscal deficit also will not be controlled. Relate these with the P and Q I have said. If if inflation is not controlled, fiscal deficit is not controlled. Let me tell you, we all might be thinking that it is correct inference, but it is not. There we go wrong. This is incorrect, guys. This is incorrect inference. Why? Because fiscal deficit can be controlled by other means. Don't you agree? So not P, therefore not Q is a wrong inference. Please note it down and utilize this while solving your paragraphs. The second one, if P, therefore Q, ये हमें बोला गया था, it was stated if P then Q. If inflation is controlled, fiscal deficit will be controlled. Therefore, yeah, obviously in some manner थोड़ा बहुत कंट्रोल होगा. अगर इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करेंगे तो फिजिकल डेफिसिट विल बी कंट्रोल्ड. ये नहीं बोल रहे कि फिजिकल डेफिसिट विल बी इरेज्ड पूरा ही, बट इट विल बी कंट्रोल्ड. सो दिस इज अ करेक्ट इन्फरेंस. ये आपको पता होना चाहिए कि दिस इज करेक्ट. इफ P देन Q, P देयरफॉर Q इज करेक्ट. अब हम थर्ड पे देखते हैं. थर्ड में क्या बोलता है कि Q देयरफॉर P, मतलब fiscal deficit will be controlled, therefore inflation must have been controlled. Now again, this is where you go wrong. You will say this is correct, but this is not correct. If fiscal deficit will be controlled, you cannot say that inflation must have been controlled. It can be probably true, but not true. in its full, true in full. So this is incorrect. Please make a note. And lastly, if not Q, therefore not P. ये आप इसको पढ़ें. If P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. फिजिकल डेफिसिट अगर कंट्रोल नहीं हो रहा है तो इन्फ्लेशन कैसे कंट्रोल होगा? नहीं हो सकता. सो दिस विल बी अ करेक्ट इन्फरेंस. Go over these in your own time and think. You will be able to understand the logic. So these the incorrect ones are the ones we need to avoid while solving the question. This was an example of what what I like to name as hypothetical reasoning. And इसके जो 4 scenarios हैं मैंने आपको दिखाए. And now you will relate, use some practice statements. I will give you guys such more such statements, combination of such statements, and after practicing them you will be able to understand that why which option is correct, which is not correct. So this hypothetical reasoning से आपको बचना है and आपको पता होना चाहिए कि which is correct, which is incorrect inference. Now the second thing, the second one I am going to tell you. Let's have another typing and let's see whether it types it correctly or not. Either the government should accept the workers' demands or it should take steps to tackle the strike. इसको हम नीचे कर देते हैं. Okay, let's get it more down. Yeah. So यहाँ पे the way we had given P and named them P and Q, so let's again name them. The first sentence as P and the second sentence as Q. अब यहाँ पे what we are learning is, it's called disjunctive arguments. Okay, and we have to understand these because why to avoid making errors of judgment. Okay, so अब पहले देखते हैं. पहले वाले केस में हमने जब बात की थी hypothetical reasoning की, if P then Q. Now let's change the condition to either P or Q. या तो गवर्नमेंट एक्सेप्ट कर ले वर्कर्स की डिमांड को या फिर टेक स्टेप्स टू टैकल द स्ट्राइक. दोनों चीज़ों में से एक करो. या तो वर्कर्स की डिमांड को पहले एक्सेप्ट कर लो या फिर टेक स्टेप्स टू टैकल द स्ट्राइक. सो ईदर P और Q. ठीक है. Now we will go to the conditions again. Not P, therefore Q. Keep noting down and also tell me later on what you thought. P, therefore not Q. The third condition, Q, therefore not P. And we have come to the end of the page, but I will go to the next. Yeah, we will see it like this. And the fourth, not Q, therefore P. अब आपको बताना है कि which will be correct, which will not be correct. So I can flash the Yeah. So we can see the statement here, and we can see what has been the condition given to us. It is, what is the condition given to us? It is either P or Q. Fine. So case 1, not P. अगर आपने गवर्नमेंट ने एक्सेप्ट नहीं की तो क्यों होना चाहिए? It should take steps to tackle the demands. So what do you feel? It should be correct or not correct? अगर गवर्नमेंट हैज़ डिसाइडेड नॉट टू एक्सेप्ट द वर्कर्स डिमांड, दैट इज ईदर पी और क्यू की हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो नॉट पी हो गया, बिकॉज पी उन्होंने एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं किया वर्कर्स की डिमांड. सो इन्फरेंस हम निकालेंगे गवर्नमेंट शुड टेक स्टेप्स टू टैकल द स्ट्राइक. अगर पी नहीं किया तो क्यू करना चाहिए. अगर हम ये इन्फरेंस निकालते हैं दैट गवर्नमेंट शुड टेक स्टेप्स टू टैकल द स्ट्राइक, दैट मीन्स वी हैव अराइव्ड एट द करेक्ट इन्फरेंस. ओके, going on, going to number 2. P therefore not Q. So what does it say? Either the government should accept the workers' demand or it should take steps to tackle the strike. This was the condition, either P or Q. यहाँ पे the government, अगर हम inference निकालते हैं not Q का, तो वो inference क्या होगा? Government need not take any steps to tackle the strike. Since they have done P, they have accepted the workers' demand, then they should not take any steps to tackle the strike, which will be wrong. Even if they have accepted the workers' demand, they still can take some steps to tackle the strike. So अगर P का condition meet होता है तो not Q होगा, ये inference निकालना will be wrong, incorrect. I am writing abbreviations. Okay, now going on to third, either P. अगर Q होता है तो नॉट P होना चाहिए, ये भी इनकरेक्ट होगा. अगर आप सिमिलर लॉजिक लगाएंगे यहाँ से तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. एंड नॉट Q, देयरफॉर P. आपने देखा था ईदर और है, तो P नहीं था तो Q हुआ था, और Q नहीं होगा तो P होना चाहिए. सो दिस विल बी योर करेक्ट inference. So now you have understood by way of seeing disjunctive arguments where can we go wrong in option 2 and 3. You have seen in hypothetical reasoning, here we had gone wrong in option 1 and option 3. So hypothetical reasoning आपने देख लिया. So ऐसी चीज़ों को if you will focus on, you will not go wrong in while we solve the problems. अब now suppose मैं एक छोटा सा लास्ट में we will give one example and finish the class. If I tell you A is 200 meters from B and B is 300 meters from C. Therefore, A is 500 meter from C. ये हमने क्या निकाला? Inference, या फिर हमने इसे ये conclusion निकाला. ये हमारे premises थे. So will it be the wrong or right conclusion? ये आपको समझना है. So यहाँ पे हम क्या we are getting misled here. This is a classic example where all the students get misled and they make the unwarranted assumption that A and B and C are in the same line. This is an unwarranted assumption. So therefore they have concluded that A is 500 meters from C. But this will be wrong if they were not in a straight line, A was not in a straight line with B or C, or if A and C were both on the same side of B. So any kind of possibility can happen. So you have seen that हमें बचना चाहिए from unwarranted assumption. Why I am focusing more on these things before even going on to the main topics is कि अगर आपका base clear हो गया, concepts clear हो गए, आपको ये clear हो गया कि mistakes कहाँ पे आप कर सकते हैं, then your rest of the task becomes very easy. So we did some revision, we have seen some tips and tricks, and आपको ये वाला example मैंने आपको दिया था कि you guys are basically both humans, you will think alike, so not very difficult for you guys, believe me, to be able to think like them. You can actually make your own mock tests. Let me tell you, pick up a passage, go to some PYQs, previous year questions, and frame questions. You know how many types of passages are coming, how many types of questions comes. There are not infinite, they can't go to infinity. They are after all humans. उनके पास भी टाइम है. आपको पढ़ने के लिए 5 घंटे दिन में नहीं मिलते. एग्जामिनर्स को क्या 10 घंटे मिलते हैं हर दिन पेपर सेट करने के, उनको भी नहीं मिलते. सो दे आर ऑल्सो इन अ हरी. सो प्लीज़ अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दिस एस्पेक्ट, एंड वंस यू अप्रोच दिस पेपर in the manner I have told you, success will not be far away from you. We are there to help you guys with our playlist, and as you see, this playlist was made when there were 70 days left. However, there are less than 60 days left now. I think 53 or 53 probably days are left, but don't worry, we are here to support you all the way in this journey. We will be coming up with more informative content. In the next class, we will deal in very lot of details with assumptions and how are we going to find out what are the categories of assumption sometimes, and then related aspects of assumptions are cause effect, course of action, analogy, lot of things are there. What is going to make an assumption invalid, and when the assumptions cannot be outrightly rejected. तो बहुत सारे ऐसे टॉपिक्स हैं जो कि हम समझेंगे अपने अगले वीडियो में. So stay tuned to our channel, subscribe it, and till such time we meet again, study hard, all the best.